Welcome to Gumption. We're talking about women in the public eye today instead of Bones because Kelly, her flight got delayed,
Cancelled, delayed.
something crazy went on with her flight, and so she's in the air right now, literally in the air, not like on the air, but in the air. So we're gonna wait to talk about Bones until next week when she is back. So
Yay. Because
yeah.
I think she has some interesting things to say about it. So I'm keen to hear what she
I'm
has
really
to say.
excited to hear what she has to say about it too. So women in the public eye.
Yeah.
Go.
So go. Well, we were just talking about the Kardashians as examples of women in the public eye. And I'm not sure I'm in love with the Kardashians. I don't generally watch the show, but I know who they are, which is a testament to their.
I don't follow them at all, but I do know who they are, and I even have a pair of shoes that one of them made. I don't know which one. I don't follow them that closely, but one of them designed a pair of shoes, and I have it.
Yeah, right. So they are pretty heavily kind of rubbished by some people and loved by others because they clearly have a very popular show that lots of people watch. So it's just interesting to see. Like I saw an article the other day saying strongly defending them as strong female examples or role models. And they do work pretty hard. Like you say, they've got clothing lines and bags and
they're willing to stand up and talk about it in public. They're not afraid of being ridiculous either. You know, like to be on a reality TV show, you have to be willing to be ridiculous in public. And I think that takes gumption.
Yeah. I think you could say they had gumption. I mean, I don't like being on a reality TV show. I mean, I imagine most of it or a percentage of it is made up or fabricated or manufactured in some way, the drama, because if there was no drama, then it would be boring TV. But it must be kind of weird to have those cameras on you all the time and to be watched by people all the time. One thing I think is that you become really obsessed by how you look, which I think is true of all of those women.
Yeah.
Do you not think, the sisters?
Yeah. That's actually one of my fashion design projects is I want to do a quarterly magazine of real stories of real people, almost like Dove, except actually more like instead of it being a magazine to sell the fashion design stuff that I do, it's a way of connecting people to real people.
That's cool.
To counteract that trend, because it can be so emotionally and physically harmful. You know?
Well, these are people with millions and millions of dollars, and they probably, anyone could look fabulous with that kind of money to spend on hair and makeup and cosmetic surgery, whatever. You can look amazing with that. I mean, I heard about them doing a party, first year birthday party for their is it a little girl they have? Is North a little girl? I don't know. I can't remember. And they were going to spend something ridiculous. I can't remember the exact amount, but it was hundreds of thousands of dollars, like at least $100,000 on a birthday party for a child who was turning 1. And it was just like, that's just inconceivable. I can't even on one day, one event, just for a child that doesn't. Anyway, so this is people living in a whole nother world, I guess.
Yeah.
Women living in another world. And you would hope that maybe people living in the ordinary world aren't kind of looking up to them and kind of feeling bad about themselves because they don't look like these girls do, maybe. I don't know, these women.
Yeah.
That's my point. And I'm sticking with it. What about so what are some other female women in the...
You mentioned Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you think about her. Since you're not a U.S. citizen, you don't have to worry about whether or not she's going to be running your country.
Yeah. I don't know an awful lot about her, and I sort of don't know a lot about her politics, so I'm a little bit wary about saying too much. But I just think it's hard for women in those public office positions because if they are too tough, they get criticized for being basically bitches. Like I can't remember if we're allowed to swear or not on here. But you know that they basically get called bitches, like they're being too. Whereas if it was a man in the same position, then they're just being, you know, tough, and a woman is being aggressive or
a lot of flack for that. She tends to be very hard and aggressive about what she does, which is actually one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of her. I think she's gone too much she's moved too much on that side of being pushy.
But then if she was a man, would you feel the same?
That makes sense to her, but that makes me not want to vote for her.
Because it's the kind of thing where you, as a woman, you kind of want a female president, and I kind of think it would be pretty cool.
But I don't want it to be her because she's a little bit too extreme, you know.
Yeah.
And circumstances have pushed her into that. So I don't know.
And the other thing about her is Clinton. The other thing I find difficult about her is her husband, Bill Clinton, and his whole womanizing thing, and that whole scandal around him and whatever her name was, giving him a.
Yeah, that happened when I was really young, and like he hasn't really done much of anything noteworthy since he left office.
But the thing is, he is so charismatic that people still love him, despite the fact that he's well known for being a serial womanizer. Like he's not, and I would doubt. I think they kept him out of the public eye, maybe, or something, or managed to keep it so that his womanizing ways weren't, didn't get caught.
Scandal lately, and I'm right around the part where there's this big blow up about the White House. Someone at the White House has accused someone who works for the White House of sleeping with the president on the show, and she didn't do it. But everyone believes she did because she happened to be a dedicated person and worked late on certain days, and those certain days match up with days when he was in the White House alone, and so they were the only two people there, and so of course they weren't working and were doing other stuff instead. Naturally, that totally makes sense.
So you're saying he's innocent and you don't believe that it really happened?
Well, no, I'm not talking about Clinton. I'm talking about the on Scandal.
A Scandal? I don't know it. I'm sorry. Is it a TV show?
It's a TV show by Shonda Rhimes, I think is her name.
Same one who does Grey's Anatomy. Is that the one?
Maybe.
Anyway, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think Hillary is a little bit tarnished, and I kind of feel like the fact that she stays with him is more of a PR decision than because I think that they particularly like each other, and that makes me a little bit sad.
I think whether they are officially separated or not, I think they are effectively separated. I don't think I don't think they've been living in the same city for ages. But I don't know, because I don't know where he is, and I really don't care. But it is interesting to think that if she wins, then he will be the first man, the first gentleman. What would that title even be? I have no idea.
First lady, maybe first gentleman.
Yeah.
Is the equivalent. First gentleman, that makes no sense, does it?
No, it sounds really
in day and age.
But this is another problem that has to do with social convention, really. There are words, you could say, there's not really a good female equivalent for the word guy.
Gal.
It's not. It works technically, but it has a whole lot of different connotations. Whereas guy is a very neutral term.
I would say, hey, you guys, and mean a whole bunch of women. So I kind of...
Right, but when it's plural, it's different than when it's singular.
I mean, it does technically mean men. I don't know why. It's just, I do that, so...
No, everyone does it with plural, but with singular, I don't know. This is me being.
There was a guy. Yeah, no, you're right.
We have a listener comment. Isn't that?
Oh my God. Someone's watching. Stop.
Monica Lewinsky has.
Oh,
do you know who that is? Because I don't know.
That's the one who was accused of she had sexual relations with him in the Oval Office. That's who. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, the comment is that Monica Lewinsky has been in 50-something rap songs and has a TED Talk about bullying.
Ah, yeah. Well, I'm sure she got bullied after that.
She probably was. I mean, I was too young to be aware of it happening in real time, but I imagine she would have been bullied by the press. And
oh God, yes, she was vilified. Yeah, no, she was, and that's the thing. It's like he got out of it. They were both clearly participants, and he got out of it as kind of like boys will be boys, and she was this evil woman. That was just
right.
Yeah. Another example of what we're talking about. Yeah, but anyway, and that's why I don't really like him for it, and I don't. It makes me like Hillary Clinton less. Yeah, because she put up with it. And there's couples all over the world where someone has an affair in their relationship and they make it work and they move on. I just wish I believed that they had done that and that was the story, and not just that I think that they are a power couple who are like using each other to stay on top of the world. Is what
Yeah, my cat is coughing or something. Hopefully not
throwing up a hairball.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
So we were talking about women, so kind of in relation to Kardashians, but maybe other celebrity females, about it kind of being addictive, about being in the public eye and fame and things like that, like wanting to do stuff like
and having I think when you're tracking how many views of something you get and how many likes and how many shares, it can become, I think, addictive to get more of them. And I think a lot of people, especially people who are like the Kardashians, who are doing reality TV type stuff, can get caught into the trap of, oh, well, I need to be more famous. I need more shares. I need more likes. And so then they go and do something outrageous and ridiculous just to get those shares.
Yeah.
Instead of actually thinking about what they're doing and why they're doing it and having it be a rational decision. It's I need more, so I'm going to go do something extreme. Yeah. And I think Justin Bieber has a bad example of doing that and getting in trouble for it.
Yeah. I tell you, do you guys get Celebrity or Big Brother, the TV show?
I don't.
It's an English. It's an English show.
Okay. Is it BBC?
So I'm not sure, but it's. I don't know whether you have the equivalent in the US, but we don't get it here, but I hear about it. And when I lived in the UK, I saw it, and it's basically a whole bunch of people living in the Big Brother house, and basically there are cameras everywhere.
Okay.
And they get voted off. So people watch what happens in the house during the week, and then I think they vote them off. So at the last thing, it's kind of like the most popular person, I guess you would say, and so they have ordinary, and so there's just they put them together, and they try for some crazy people who they know are going to cause problems, and they just have all these, and it's like that reality TV thing, and they've done celebrity ones, and I think there might be a celebrity one going on at the moment, and the only reason I'm kind of thinking that is because I know that Angie Bowie, who was David Bowie's ex-wife, was in the Celebrity Big Brother house when she found out that he died. And they filmed her, and they showed her reaction not live, but on their cameras. It was kind of like, it wasn't even finding out about, the death of her ex-husband. It was something that was fair game. Yeah. It's just a really, not that, she's I don't know about her, but you know, it's just stuff like that. And it's that they're willing to do it, and they're willing to participate in something like that, where every single moment of the day they're being watched by cameras, and then that is being edited into a program that people watch that night or whatever on TV. It's kind of, it's that need for fame or need for, and it's women just as much as men. It's a, you know, it's not just, you know, it's everyone.
Opportunity. Equal opportunity fame addiction.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be interesting to hear someone's thoughts on this who is famous but is not always in the public eye, like someone like Sheryl Sandberg or J.K. Rowling, or
I always think of Andy McDowell,
or even Emma Watson, you know, just because it, like, they, I think, are women who are famous, who are doing good, and they're very often in the public eye, but they don't seem to be addicted to the notoriety of it. They're just doing things that they find meaningful and happen to be in the public eye as a consequence.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, I think that's the thing. You have to be able to manage it. You have to have the it's always interesting, like someone, you bring up Emma Watson and people who are child stars, and often they kind of go off the rails, and you kind of think, well, it's because they were kids. They were put into this environment that is so wacky, so off what is normal.
With Justin Bieber and with a bunch of what's her name? Oh my gosh, I know exactly what
Lindsay Lohan.
Yes.
And one of the other ones, there's those Disney ones. There's another Disney one who's gone completely off the rails too, and I can't remember her name. But you know those.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just thinking. The one I always think of is Drew Barrymore, but she's managed to turn it all around, and it seems to do okay. These. Yeah. She was. Oh God, what was she in? I think she might have been in E.T. Was she the little girl out of E.T.? Loads of other stuff too, but yeah. Anyway, that's beside the point. Do you think they must grow up with an altered sense of reality, though? An altered sense of, I don't know.
I think they do, but I don't know because I didn't grow up that way.
Yeah. Anyway, this conversation's got off track a bit. I'm kind of feeling like we would.
Another fascinating thing to say about something somewhat related.
Yeah, go for it.
And of course, as soon as I say that, my mind becomes completely blank. Fun.
Can't remember what you're going to say. Well, I was going to say, like, Macaulay Culkin, and I mean, it's a guy, but he's another one. He was a child star, right? And and now he's just looks. He was the cutest little boy. He was in all those Home Alone movies. Do you know who he is?
No,
you're looking a bit blank.
Pictures for it.
Yeah, and now you see photos of him now, and he just looks crazy. He just looks. But then he's still got his millions. Apparently, he's still got a few million in the bank. He doesn't need to do anything. So he's done okay. But anyway, doesn't really matter. I just think it's funny, those children kind of in that weird environment of how do they survive? So if you and we were talking again about this before, like once you've been in the public eye and you're used to it and you become kind of immune to the idea that everyone's watching you at all times, do you miss it when you're not in the public eye? Do you become addicted to being in the public eye and will therefore, as you were saying before, do anything to remain in the public eye? Like maybe Justin Bieber's antics aren't really the antics of someone who's kind of arrogant and just thinks he's the king of the world. Maybe they're antic of someone who's secretly afraid that no one will pay him any attention anymore if he doesn't do these kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, and there's also, I think, with Justin Bieber, I think it could also be a case of success leading to fear of success. Right? Like, I think he might be acting out because he's afraid that he can't reproduce the success that he's already had.
Maybe.
You know, like when you do something that everyone finds so completely astounding, and then you're getting all of this praise for it, you can sometimes end up not really sure how to do it over again. And I think
He's
that's,
got more than one album out though, hasn't he? He's got multiple albums out. He
yeah,
only just put one out again last year or something, didn't
but
he?
I don't know. I mean, I don't listen to him in general, but there's only maybe 2 songs of his that I would recognize if they were playing on the radio. And I think those are from his original one.
Yeah. I have to admit to being musically illiterate, so I actually don't know any of his songs. You know, I'm the worst person to talk about music in general, but I just, it's just interesting.
But it's something a lot of authors talk about as well. And I think there are a lot of one-hit wonders in books as well as music. People who win an award or become a New York Times bestseller, but then don't know how they did it, so they can't reproduce it.
Yeah, that is a thing. Hey, you know who's an interesting musician though, who I'd quite like to talk about, is Taylor Swift. And I didn't actually pick up the whole of there's some kind of stoush going on between her and Kanye or something. He must have made some comment, because I saw a video clip of her standing up and getting her second Grammy, saying for an album, and she was sort of saying, first woman to, I'm standing up here, the first woman to get 2 Grammys, and she was getting really passionate. She was sort of saying, if to other women who are out there trying to achieve their goals or their dreams, if someone comes along and tries to take credit for your success and say that it wasn't your success, well, you just remember that it is you, and it is it. Well, it was quite impassioned, and so clearly something has gone on there. And I don't know anything about her. I don't know what she's like, who she is as a person, but I kind of liked it. I kind of thought, go you, because she's clearly standing up and saying my success is because of me. And I'm, and I imagine there are a lot of people in the music industry, and I'm only saying this because of TV and movies that I've seen, and not because of any actual real knowledge, but they, you get the managers who come in and they create the stars, and they, the music companies used to say, we created you, we can kill you off, kind of thing. But she's standing up and saying, I'm a strong female, and she's a smart person. I think I get the impression as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. She hangs out with Lord. She can't be all bad.
Very good at maintaining control over her own work. Like, she doesn't let her record label dictate everything she does.
Didn't she take her stuff off Spotify? I think she wasn't getting money for it. Yeah.
And she wrote that letter to iTunes insisting on getting compensated for her work. Like, they were just gonna not pay artists for the free trial of new users for the streaming stuff. And she wrote back and was like, that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So she's done a lot of work to make sure that that there's equitable compensation for artists, and that the big companies aren't just taking advantage of people.
Yeah. Because it's one thing to decide to put something up free for yourself, as I guess we do as authors. It's another for a company like iTunes to decide to have a free month trial and then not pay anyone. Like, if you're going to have a free month trial, then you can pay the people who are, the musicians that you're offering their music for free. That's interesting, eh? I didn't really know that about that one. Yeah. Anyway, I think she's interesting. So in New Zealand, we've got Lord. Do you know Lord?
Yeah, I like her, but I haven't listened to anything new recently.
No, I think the last thing that came out was the Hunger Games CD that she did for the latest movie, but I haven't really listened to that, being honest.
Movie?
Sorry?
Which movie?
Hunger Games, the latest one, I think.
Oh.
She did the music for it. Yeah, or one of the Mockingjays. So maybe the second to last. I don't know.
Did the last one come out already? Because I don't think I've seen it yet.
Well, it came out in New Zealand, the last one. I haven't seen it because I didn't get it to see it at the movies, and it's not out on DVD yet, or video, or Apple TV.
That's like scandalous.
I know. I'm devastated. I'm just sitting. I really, really, really want to see it, and I just couldn't make it happen when it was at the movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, damn it. That's what happens when you have a child. Just so you know, your life is no longer your own. I used to see a movie a week, and I haven't seen a movie in like 6 months. Anyway, it's fine.
Find a babysitter.
I'm not letting anyone look after my darling little baby. What are you on? Don't worry, I'm kidding.
A babysitter that you like and that your kid likes.
I know, but when you get free time, suddenly you just want to sleep.
Watching a movie actually requires less brain power than going to sleep.
Oh, good. Anyway, back on track. So, who is your favorite female celebrity?
All of my favorite female celebrities are like not really celebrities.
No one else has heard of them. That means they're not a celebrity.
It's not that no one else has heard about them. It's that they don't get the credit they deserve for what they've done.
But I think that probably still means no one's heard of them.
Maybe.
Which means problem. Okay, like who? Tell me, see if I've heard of anyone.
I'm thinking of Rosalind Franklin. She did more work than what's his name's is Clark.
What's his name?
The people who discovered the structure of DNA. She did more work on that project than either of them, but she is not remembered because she died of radiation poisoning or something along those lines before they could give the Nobel, and they don't give the Nobel to people who are dead. So she didn't win.
It's a bit unfair.
So she did the bulk of the work.
That sucks.
The guy whose name everyone remembers, except that I suck at remembering names, so I can't remember his name. He was like really masochistic and obnoxious, and so he went on and like tried to pretend that it had been all of his idea.
Oh, he sounds amazing. Do you know what I find really funny about this is when I was talking about celebrity, I was thinking you would name a movie star, and here you are naming scientists.
I don't know any movie stars.
This is an example of the difference between how your brain works and how my brain works. I'm like, yeah, music and movie people.
I know who are like politicians and famous people in music and film that we haven't already mentioned. I mean, I guess there's Angelina Jolie. And Beyonce, I guess. But I don't know that they're my favorites. I don't know.
It's the only ones you could name. Because they are so famous that there is no...
Right. Well, and I didn't watch movies or TV really at all until high school. I only watched Star Trek and Babylon 5 for the first 15 years of my life. So... and like I don't know their names, I know their characters. And I don't know that counts as being a celebrity. Yeah. I don't know their name, right?
Okay, so who's your favorite character on Babylon 5?
On Babylon 5? I don't know.
Female.
It's been too long since I've watched it. On Star Trek, really, I know all of the women on the second wave of shows. I didn't really watch the originals very much because...
So what were the second wave of shows then?
So there's Captain Janeway, and there's 7 of 9, and there's...
okay. So that's like Next Generation, yeah?
And then on the Next Generation, there's Dr. Beverly Crusher, and there's...
Deanna Troy.
Yeah, Deanna Troy. That's who I was trying to think of, Deanna. And there's at least 1 or 2 others.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new one though.
That's from the one.
She was original though. She was the original.
I don't know about her on the original, but in the new movies, I like her a lot.
Mm.
The actress who plays her, I like her generally in everything I've seen her in, but I don't actually know her name.
Isn't it Jada Pinkett Smith, the one who played her in the latest movies? Isn't it? I don't know.
Isn't it? Who is it?
Okay, let's look it up quickly.
It's someone well known, but
the latest Star Trek. Oh yes, she's called Nichelle Nichols.
Really? Okay.
Apparently. Oh no, wait, no, she was the original. She appears to be the original one. Okay, wait. She was one of the first African American female characters in American television, not portrayed as a servant. Anyway,
I remember
Martin Luther King.
Stuff about the original Uhura that was where she was very essentially taken advantage of by, I don't know, that's not the right way of saying it. She was cast in a very stereotypical, this is what women do and this is how we treat women type of role.
Zoe Saldana. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, she would have been. It was like in the, I don't know when it was, late 60s, early 70s, when she was a token female character and she wore the short little skirts and she was there so Captain Kirk could kiss her and, whatever else. But I suppose she had quite a good job. She was kind of the communications officer, wasn't she? I don't know. I shouldn't be too...
I don't remember on the original. The new movie, she's like the translator. She knows all the languages ever.
Yeah. I think she was always on the comm because she was translating languages, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. So it's Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
And she is an American actress and dancer. So she used to be on Law and Order. She was in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, she was not the first movie, but
Curse of the Black Pearl.
Oh no, she was in the first movie. She's one of the pirates. She's like the third in command or something.
Okay. She was in Avatar as well.
Yeah. Was she the main woman, the like blue woman?
I don't know. I'll look it up for you now that I'm looking stuff up. She's listed second after Sam Worthington.
Watch people do Google searches.
I know, woohoo! We sure got gumption. We can sit here and Google search all day long. She's going to be so horrified when she listens to this back.
She's going to be shocked that we're not talking about Bones.
Yeah, no, I really wanted to hear Bones is a good example. I love Bones, but we're not going to talk about it, so don't worry. It does appear to
watch when we talk about Bones because my sister's studying osteology.
Osteology? What's osteology?
That's what Bones does.
The bone people.
Bones, and then you do anthropology based off of the bones, and then you know stuff about the person or the animal or whatever it was what they did and
okay.
where they lived. They lived and all sorts of stuff. And it's like magic to me, but it's a real thing. It's like a scientific thing that you can study.
Yeah. It does seem kind of magical the way that they can do that on Bones, but we're not talking about Bones. We're not talking about it. So another famous person. So what are some controversial famous people that you kind of women? Do you know what is interesting is Jennifer Lawrence's stuff about the payment of women in Hollywood and how she's just
interesting.
How women are paid so much less than the men.
Yeah, and I believe that because I wrote a paper in high school on women in engineering in the U.S. and there's still discrepancy. Actually, I saw an article. This is sort of a tangent, but I saw an article this past week that was talking about how on those like open source platforms where you can like go and contribute code and stuff, if people can tell your gender, then if you're a woman, they will accept your contribution significantly less than if they can't tell what your gender is at all. And for men, it's only a little bit less. But women who make contributions and whose contributions are accepted, usually their code is better written and cleaner. So it was a really interesting study because they were using these places where the other users can't necessarily tell their gender, but the people who did the study could, because they were like matching emails to like Google Plus profiles and stuff. And apparently women are better at coding statistically on these open source platforms, but at the same time there are like
they're paid less, and
there are like 18% of the employees at Google are women.
Yeah. No, isn't it high? Because Google have this quite a strong policy for getting more women.
Right, they do. And they still
have only a very small. I've done articles about it because I interviewed this. I used to work for Institute of Technology here in New Zealand, and one of the women who's doing really well at this particular place is a female. She's just finished a PhD in artificial intelligence, so she's in the computing department, and there are very few women. In fact, she's one of the few women in that department, and it's a thriving department. They're all doing really, really well, and she's doing some amazing stuff. But she's, so I got a little bit into that. The women in the what do they call it? Like the science, technology, and engineering and mathematics, the STEM things, and just the different organizations. So she's won a Google scholarship twice. And she got a fully paid scholarship to Australia, where they bring in all these women who are in that kind of industry, computing, and who are, potentially people that Google might be interested in, and they bring them there for a weekend. They all get to interact. They all get to discuss how hard it is to be a female in that industry, make connections, network, and then get shown around Google, make connections with Google people, and it's really cool. It's like they're actively promoting women in that environment. And she's come back to New Zealand, and she's actively promoting young girls. So she goes into the high schools around Auckland, and they've run competitions for girls, just trying to actively promote girls to getting into coding, a lot of those coding things. And it's fascinating. And it's just, when you start looking at the stats of how much fewer women there are, and like you say, women being better at coding, how much less they get paid, how hard it is.
Perception and it goes back several hundred years to when women were incompetent in everything, and the people who were running the schools and the universities were like, well, women can't possibly be good at math, ignoring the fact that women had been running household accounts without education, because being able to do budget work and being able to do calculus are apparently not compatible math skills.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So this was related somehow to what we were talking about.
Yeah, clearly it's related. I always go back to, though, when it talks about the women and the men being different pay scales.
We were talking about Jennifer Lawrence and her
that's right, money,
women and pay, and that is reflected in engineering pay as well.
Yeah,
that's why I thought.
But I actually think, and this is going to sound like I'm blaming women for it, but I'm not really. I'm just saying, like, I think men are a lot more ballsy about asking for raises and asking for more money. In general, I'm not saying that's because, there are guys who are terrible at it, but, in general, on average, there are going to be more guys that are prepared to go in there and ask their boss for a raise, or to start talking about, hey, look, I've been here a year, give me more money. Whereas women, and I include myself in this, I'm terrified.
Actually has had this problem. She is a librarian at a university, and she was ready and had all of the work done to go up for tenure a year early. And she decided not to because the feedback she was getting from her mentors and her immediate superiors was that she shouldn't be so pushy. But if she had been a guy, they would have been like, oh, that's so great. Yeah, that's awesome. Do it. And I think part of it is cultural expectations. And part of it is if you are ambitious and you do anything outside of what's expected, then you get labeled as being pushy and aggressive and bitchy.
Which takes us back to Hillary Clinton.
Which, yeah, it does. And she's been doing what she had to do to get where she needs to go and has taken it a little bit too far. But I also think she's still getting the backlash from that more than someone who'd done exactly the same things that she had done who happened to be a guy.
Yeah. I mean, and on the other hand of that, maybe if it had been a guy, he'd be getting backlash for not being hard enough. Do you know what I mean? Like there's those stereotypes of what men and women are supposed to be saying and how they're supposed to be. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, we use stereotypes. I always remember doing psychology and like thinking before I did a class on it that stereotype was a bad thing. And what they were saying is it's not actually necessarily a bad thing. It's just a way for us to understand the world that we live in without having to know every single thing about a person. So you look at a person and you say, okay, so she looks like that. That means that she's probably fits into this box and she probably does this, that, the next thing. And it's a way of kind of understanding the huge amount of information that we would otherwise have to get to, bring it down into a more manageable level. So it kind of works for us. But then you start getting situations kind of like we're saying now, where people who shouldn't be in certain box are being shoved into that box because that's the kind of nearest fit, and it doesn't, it doesn't fit, and it means that you don't fit. It doesn't work for you, and anyway, that was all. You're looking at me blankly, so we'll move on.
No, I'm thinking. Well, when I stare, oh my gosh, I can't speak sometimes. When I'm staring blankly, it means I'm thinking, and my sister used to get mad at me because I would be staring blankly while I was eating breakfast, and she was convinced I was staring at her as if she was doing something wrong, and I was like completely unaware that she was even there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think she's forgiven me now that we don't have to eat breakfast together.
Oh, good.
Oh, good.
After all this time, I'm glad.
Yeah.
So we have, what do we have here? We've got famous people in New Zealand. What do you think about Fox News anchor women?
I don't know what to think about that. I don't have an opinion. No comment.
They all are blonde and attractive. I suppose most anchor people are attractive. Are there any ugly anchor people?
Conservative news channel.
So I think so. How can I know more about your news channels than you do? This
because
seems wrong.
I don't pay attention to mainstream news. My way of keeping up with the news is listening to other people tell me what they think is important.
Okay.
So that's what I know about. The news that I get is Irish. I get the Irish news.
How is that helpful? I suppose it's good because you're getting a world view, an outside of America view.
Yeah.
Go you.
Yeah, I get that. And when I'm curious about something, I'll go look it up on BBC. And I guess I now have access to The Economist and Time if I bother to read them, which I won't until I'm done moving all my boxes.
Okay. Little boxes.
Boxes is really fun.
Not.
I should
think of the strong muscles you'll get.
Because that would work really well.
Yeah, lots of people are going to watch you moving boxes, definitely. What about female sports people?
Female sports,
like the Venus, the Williams sisters, Venus and I can't remember the other one's name.
I don't know a whole lot about them. I don't follow sports very much. I mean, I watched the Gabby Douglas documentary the other day, and it was awesome. But that's all I know.
Tell us about Gabby.
So she almost died when she was born because she had some weird blood thing that was weird. like there was some metabolic hormone thing that was out of balance or something. And she was the youngest of 4, and her mom took her and her sisters and left her dad when she was like maybe 1.5 or something, because her mom didn't want to be on food stamps. And then she got basically self-trained herself in gymnastics when she was little because it was something she had fun doing. And eventually her siblings convinced her mom to put her in a gymnastics class.
Wow.
And decided that she wanted to go to the Olympics. And so she worked her way up to that level almost on her own. I mean, the last 2 years before the London Olympics, she was working with a really good coach, but only because he had seen her and she was able to pick things up fast enough from him that he noticed and remembered her.
Wow.
And so it was all about her willpower and her mother's and her siblings' willingness to sacrifice for her. Like, all of her siblings stopped doing sports at the, like, outside of school sports because they wanted all the money to go to her and her gymnastics training and her gymnastics competitions so that she could do this.
Oh my gosh. How many brothers and sisters she have?
1 brother and 2 sisters.
Wow.
And
That's
a
pretty selfless.
single mother with 4 kids.
Yeah.
And then she ended up, the guy she wanted to be her coach was in Iowa, and she was living in like Georgia or something. And so she was only able to go because there was a local family who was willing to host her.
Yeah.
She had a lot of difficulty. Like, she almost quit like 2 months before the qualifying competition for the Olympics. She almost quit because she was homesick and she was like, I'm letting everyone down and everything is horrible and this isn't fun anymore.
Oh my gosh. And then she did it
and then, well, and her mom and her brother managed to convince her, no, you're doing this for us because we want you to. And we believe in you. And that managed to convince her, okay, I'll give it my best.
I kind of like hearing the story of people who can considering giving up and then move through that.
It's worth going and watching. It's on Netflix. At least in the US, it's on Netflix. And then I also watched a documentary about Misty. I don't remember her last name, but she's the African-American principal at the American Ballet Theater. And she had a lot of struggles as well because she's not the typical ballet dancer body type. She's curvy and muscular and not super tiny and not white. And so she had a lot of trouble at the beginning as well because she was feeling all alone. She's like, I don't fit in, but this is what I love. And then she got over that with the help of a bunch of mentors she was a soloist and she got cast as the lead, which is almost unheard of. So she did Firebird. She was the Firebird in Firebird, and then realized that she had an injury, like a stress fracture in her shin. And if she had kept dancing much longer without getting it treated, her bone would have snapped. So she had to have surgery for it, and she had to basically not dance for a year in the middle of her career.
That's quite gutting, isn't it?
Yeah. So
that
was
to get somewhere
for her as well because, she had this surgery and they weren't really entirely sure if it was going to work or not. And she was doing a lot of non-traditional dance exercises so that she could keep her muscle tone without putting weight on her leg.
Mm.
And then she came back and was more successful and has been doing all sorts of awesome stuff since then. But that's another really good documentary to watch of a woman who's doing really awesome things.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean, maybe it's just because I know more about these ones, but you kind of can admire these women because they're struggling to overcome adversity. They're pushing against all odds. They're creating a space for themselves somewhere that maybe there wasn't necessarily a space, or if they hadn't really pushed the envelope, and that's really cool. Like it's really not easy.
Space for themselves. They're making space for future generations of non-white dancers. Or non-wealthy athletes. It takes a lot of resources to get the time and the space to train for a lot of things. Like if you don't have a swimming pool, you can't train to be an Olympic swimmer. If you don't have a gymnastics gym to go to, you can't train properly. Like there are things you can do with nothing. Like you can train to be a runner with nothing, and that's why the Kenyans are so awesome at running. But like if you want to do something more, I don't know, stereotypically classical, then you have to have the resources to get the training to do it well.
Yeah, so when people strive and achieve in an environment where maybe otherwise they weren't there, I kind of like that.
Or they're creative about figuring out how to get access to those resources that they don't have access to through the traditional hierarchy sometimes, like I think you can, there was this woman on the School of Greatness podcast, and I need to go look up her name because she's awesome. But she had a similar sort of story of overcoming all odds. Like she was crazy in debt with a baby. She had $11 in the bank account, and so she couldn't buy diapers because the diapers were $20. And she worked her way out of that essentially by figuring out how to work enough hours that she could volunteer as a helper at a bunch of conferences so that she could effectively attend the conference for free in order to meet the people that she needed to meet to grow her business. Yeah, and that's what's inspiring about these people is they go out of their way to be like, okay, this is what I need to do to be successful, and this is all of the ways I can go about doing that.
Do you know what that makes me think of is having goals? It makes me think these are people who know what they want and know what the end result is going to be, and then kind of step it back and say, how do I make the steps to get there? Do you know what I mean? And I think that is often maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure there'll be people out there who just kind of accidentally get to the place they want to be, but I just think having goals and knowing what you want and knowing early maybe is even more helpful.
And I think that's a difference a lot of times between the people who are successful, the people who are successful and famous and continue to do good work, and the people who are successful and famous and then become addicted to that fame, and then they start sort of doing stuff that doesn't make sense anymore. I think the people who are addicted are so focused on how do I get more people to know who I am, that they don't take the time to set the goal and figure out how they have to get there. They're just doing stuff without that intention.
Or maybe fame is their goal. So the goal isn't to create a fantastic movie or to whatever.
I don't know that they're trying to achieve it in any sort of intentional way.
The fame.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Like I think they're like, oh well, I want to be famous, so what am I going to do today that's going to make people talk about me? Whereas they're not like, okay, I want to be famous for something. And how do I get to be famous for this thing? Whether it's a charity or a cause or an invention or a belief system or a productivity system or a clothing line or whatever it is. If you want to be famous for something, then there's a goal sort of beyond the fame itself. And fame is an avenue sort of for achieving this other goal. Does that make sense?
Or maybe even fame is just an offshoot of achieving this other goal.
Right.
Do you know? And maybe, and for some people it's an unwanted offshoot. But then there's these people over here on the other side who's just, and it seems to be something that's a recent phenomenon where it's just, they just want to be famous and they don't care why and they don't care how.
Not at all. I think there are plenty of people who have just wanted to be famous and so they became famous. I think there's a lot of examples.
Like maybe, okay, 100 years ago, like who would have wanted to be famous just for being famous?
There was someone in like Louis XVI's court, and I know exactly what her picture looks like. There's like a famous painting of her, and I don't remember what her name is. Maybe it's Madame Pompadour.
She was the king's mistress
for a certain hairstyle, but other than that,
wasn't she the mistress? Wasn't she his mistress?
Yeah, but like he had a bunch of mistresses. Why do we remember her? We remember her because she chose to become famous for her hair. But that's not really a good reason to be famous.
Yeah. So is that more about game playing and I don't know? Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that. But that's not something that's available. Like she had to have been an aristocrat. She had to be able to do certain things. The majority of French people at that time would have just been poor people who were getting on with their life. And maybe there were some people in your local village.
And I think there were a lot of actresses who were not necessarily any good at being actresses or opera singers or whatever, but were really good at being famous.
Okay.
And all right, I'll give you courtesans as well. Like it was all the women who were somehow, for some reason, outside of the standard social structure.
I was thinking of actresses.
Like, even Chanel was able to do what she did because she wasn't someone's wife. She wasn't someone's daughter. She wasn't someone's mother. She was able to start her own fashion house because she was outside of that system. And so those expectations were different. And she had the connections from everything else in the business world. Like she knew all of the men who needed that business side of things to happen.
That makes me sad in some ways because she had to pick between being successful in business and having those other relationships potential. I don't know anything about it, but just based on what you're saying,
I don't think she had to pick. I think she chose to pick.
Okay.
Because she wanted to do something more than just sleep with people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she was more high class than that sounded. But yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think there are also people who want the notoriety.
Maybe it's just more accessible these days or something. More people can aim for it.
Because of the internet, I think everything is more connected, and so you find out about things faster and things are more global. I think in the past things were very local. And that's sort of one of the things that people love and hate about small towns is that everyone knows everyone and everyone's business. So I think it's easy to be famous in a small town for no reason at all. And I think that can often be harmful to the person who is famous for no reason if they're trying to change. Like if they decide, okay, I'm done, I want to actually do something constructive, the expectations of the people in that community are such that they can't change without leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it becomes, so because we're now a global village, it becomes that on a wider scale. So before maybe you could have gone to the village down the road and kind of maybe got away from it, whereas now there's a worldwide expectations of how you are and who you are and how you're going to live. And someone I think of as like the royals, like
Yeah.
Wills and Kate or Diana, you know, like the world watches them. And I mean, it doesn't really mean anything to me, the royals here in New Zealand, and I don't really think they've got no kind of impact on the US, for example. But there are a lot of people in the States who love them and watch them, and you know, they act a certain way. And there's an entire country in England, you know, the English, who just have this strict set of rules, and there's the way things go, and the way, you know, the tradition and the whatever else. And it's not just in England, it's everywhere. It's wherever they go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure it always was very strict. I don't know what I mean. It's, yeah.
Well, and if you want to get out of the public eye, I think you have to disconnect from the internet almost entirely, in order to really have that change happen. Either you have to be public about the change and frame wanting that change in such a way that your supporters support it. So that people who follow you are wanting you to change because they believe it's gonna get them more of whatever it is they want from you, right? People don't follow people for no reason. People follow people because there's some entertainment value, or there's some educational value, or there's some inspirational value to following them, right?
They're living their lives vicariously through Justin Bieber, or is that an option?
Right, but that's like an entertainment value, right? So if you're going to change, you have to change in such a way that whatever reason is that people are following you doesn't become obsolete.
But then what if there's people in there who your change doesn't help them, and so they're kind of like, they want you to stay the same? So it's like when when someone
are going to give you the backlash for it.
Yeah, you're going to get backlash.
Really disciplined about ignoring them if you want to actually succeed at changing yourself.
I mean, I've heard of people who are smokers who give up, and to actually be able to give up drinking or smoking, they have to stop hanging out with their group of friends, because hanging out with your friends in a social situation is often why a lot of people drink and smoke. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't drink, and I don't really. I drink very little, and I don't smoke, so I don't. But there are social situations that you're in where you go hang out with your friends on a Friday and Saturday night. It's what you do on the weekends, kind of thing. Right. And if all of them smoke, and
if you don't drink very much, then having a glass of something in your hand and taking a sip every hour isn't gonna bother you. Like, you're not consuming enough of it for it to really affect you. And you're not.
But what if you're an alcoholic and you're trying to get out of that environment?
You have a glass of alcohol in your hand, it's going to be gone in 2 seconds.
So what I'm saying is, if you're an alcoholic and you're trying to give up the drinking, then
you have to completely cut yourself off.
Yeah, and you have to cut yourself off from your friends who are still drinking, because it's a bad environment.
Of that change and are willing to let you say no.
But I don't even.
Friends.
But if you're saying no, but you're surrounded constantly by people who are drinking, I don't think that's good for you either.
It depends on the individual person, and it depends on the group of friends. If you are strong-willed enough to say no and mean it, even under peer pressure, and you can do that for 1 or 2 meetings with your friends, then they'll get the message, oh, when they say no, they mean no. And then they'll stop pressuring you because they know and they've seen you having fun without it, and then it's okay. But I think if you're not completely set and you aren't able to have that strength of, I said no and I meant it, then you can get pressured into doing what you are trying not to do very easily.
Yeah, I think if you're someone who has been drinking a lot, it's really hard to suddenly stop and say no. I think you would find
Right.
that people would
I
have
think you
to
build it up.
take themselves out of that situation. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I don't know how we got onto that topic from talking about
Because we were talking about addiction
famous women.
and addiction to other substances.
Yeah.
Addiction to substances and addiction to fame. It's addiction of any kind is really all the same.
Yeah.
So
I'm just fascinated by the idea of if someone is addicted to fame, does that mean if they do stuff outside of the eye of people, so that if no one else can see them doing something, does that mean it doesn't matter or it's not satisfactory for them anymore? Do they,
I
like
would
the Kardashians?
if they're actually addicted, then yes. If it's out of the public eye, then why bother?
Yeah, and then that must be terrible. It's like, so the Kardashians, I bet some of them feel that way. Like if we're not in the public eye, it's no point doing anything because it's got it has no value, or it has less value to us or less importance. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely, but I just think.
I hope that never happens to us.
Well, clearly we're going to become so famous from this podcast that we won't be able to do anything.
You never know.
Without the TV on, without the video and the microphone recording.
So we're going to actually talk about bones next week.
Yes.
When Kelly
yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes. I'm excited about that.
I'm excited about that. And I'm excited that we have an extra week to prepare to, because I should really go back and watch some of those episodes, because it's been a long time since I watched any of them, and I'm not up to date, and I'm not going to get.
Oh my God.
I know.
All right. Well, I generally tend to watch Bones, although I did go off it in the middle for a while, but then I've gone back into it now, so it's fine.
Maybe I'll just watch the most recent episodes. I don't know. We'll find out what I do next week. I'll tell you what I watched.
Excellent. All right.
All right. See you next week.
Thank you, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.